Hey guys, welcome to Ben Wrenchin. My name is Ben and today I'm wrenching on my 2004 Honda Accord. I'm going to be changing out my power steering pump today. It looks like it's leaking a little bit right here. In case you guys didn't know, this car's got over 350,000 miles on it. So she's seen some things and I think this power steering pump looks to be the original. I'm going to see if it's got any kind of Honda insignia on it when I get it off. But it looks like it's leaking. It seems like it's pretty noisy. Sometimes when I turn the wheel, it sounds like it starts growling. I already changed out the power steering pump fluid reservoir. I'll link that video in the description. There's still some moisture underneath where that's at. I don't know if that's from the actual reservoir leaking or the hoses, or if it's coming from this leak on the top of the power steering pump. It also looks like this top hose is leaking from this fitting here, so I may need a new hose too, but I'm confident this power steering pump needs changed out anyway. I got the cheapest power steering pump I could find on Amazon. So I got the Pexiolus brand and some Asian car power steering fluid that says it's good for Honda. So I'm going to suck out as much power steering fluid as I need to. That way when I take this off, it's not going to leak everywhere. It's just got a couple screws holding these hoses on. The new pump came with this plastic fitting here. So I really just need to release this hose clamp and then get these two screws off here for this top hose and then two bolts holding it in. I will have to take the belt off, but I've done that before too, so I'll link a video of that in the description as well. So I'm going to get the belt off real quick, and then I'm going to attempt to use a dollar store turkey baster to get all of the fluid out that I can. And then I will show you guys how I'm going to take this pump off. So with that, let's get into it. Alright, so I took the belt off. The tensioner is a 14 millimeter. I used a 14 millimeter wrench and then doubled up with my 15 millimeter. Two wrenches on it gives you enough leverage to pull that back so that you can get the belt off. I sucked some fluid out with my dollar store turkey baster. I put it into a funnel that's got a valve on it. And so I sucked as much up out of the reservoir as I could. I also took this cap off the top of the pump. It was a 19 millimeter. I just used a 19 millimeter socket that came right off. And when I spin the pump, some of the fluid comes back up. So I was really just trying to suck out what I could out of the pump. And I was hoping this would push the fluid down into the reservoir and I could suck it back out. I did that, got a little bit more out, but I think there's still some in the pump. So we may make a bit of a mess, but I'll find out once I get this hose clamp off. The two bolts for the pump stick out on this side. So there's one back here. The other bolt is right by the pulley on the front side right here. Those are both 12 millimeter bolts. And the two bolts for the top hose as well as the one bolt for the bottom hose are all 10 millimeter. I don't need to take this one off because the new pump came with this plastic fitting already installed on it. So I'm just going to take this hose clamp off and see how much fluid's left in there. I got these little tiny adjustable pliers. Got this push button adjuster. I really like these. I've been using them for quite a bit. So I'm going to try to use these to get this hose clamp off. And that was painless. And I can use these to try to turn this hose to break up the connection. And I've got a rag ready in case I spill a bunch of fluid. So I'll put this here and pop this off and see how much comes out. All right, and that was not bad at all. So to my surprise, I didn't have a drop of fluid come out. So I'm gonna go ahead and take off these two bolts at the top for that top hose. I'll get that off of here and then we can get this pump out. And I suspect fluid may come out of this as well, so I need to be ready to catch that. But I can take these out first and then break the connection. I will go ahead and put this spring cap back on. I'm not sure if that did anything or not, but with both of these screws out, I can pull on this and hope that fluid doesn't go everywhere. So there is a little bit of fluid coming out of that one, but that's okay. I'll just set it right here so it's out of the way. And the port for that top line is full of fluid to the top, so I'm gonna go ahead and suck that out. And this dollar store turkey baster is a little too big, so I'll just have to try to get the pump out without dumping fluid everywhere. The good news is at this point everything's disconnected, so I just need to get these bolts off that mount the pump to the engine. Back one's the easiest because I can just use a deep 12 millimeter socket and loosen it up. This front bolt's a different story though. Since I can't get a socket in there, I'm gonna use a 12 millimeter ratcheting wrench. I'll link one of these in the description. These are super handy when you need them. And so I can just loosen that bolt and then take it out the rest of the way with this ratcheting wrench. and then I can spin it out the rest of the way by hand. I'll take this one all the way out first, and then I can hold this pump up and get the other one out all the way. And that way when this comes loose, I can have a good hold on the pump and I don't spill all this fluid onto my alternator. And these bolts are a lot longer than you think they'd be. But with both of those out, I have the whole pump ready to come out. And so now I can dump the rest of this fluid out of the pump into my catch jug. And I should be able to pump the rest of the fluid out by just turning the pulley. So I think I got all of it out. And now I'm ready to unbox the new pump and compare it to the old one. If you use a funnel like this, you can reuse this fluid. Since I got new fluid, I'm just gonna release it into a used oil container. And comparing the new pump to the old one, everything looks good here. This port came with a cover on it, so that's good news. So I can get that off. The screw holes look identical. This hole even has a flat right here in the same spot, so that's good. The bottom of the pump looks the same. They've both got this plug. And the pulley looks identical too. And this top port even came with a plug too, so that's good news. I'm gonna leave that there until I get the top hose installed. That way we don't drop anything down in there. But everything looks good between these two, so I'm gonna go ahead and install this one. And it did come with some oil in it because this is leaking. So that's good news. That means that they oiled it from the factory to prevent any kind of corrosion or anything during transport. So that's a good sign. I like that. So before I install this new pump, I'm just gonna clean this area up. I spilled a little bit of fluid and I wanna scrub up underneath this pump since it's completely likely that this has never been cleaned. So I'm gonna do that first and then I'll get this pump installed. All right, and I think that looks pretty good. I used some green cleaner and my cheapo steam cleaner to just kind of clean that area up. It didn't do much, but it did clean it up just a little bit. And at least now I can see the level on my fluid reservoir. So looking at this now in hindsight, I wished I would have gone ahead and replaced that tensioner pulley. Not that it needs it, but the power steering pump bolts directly to this. So you will have to take off the power steering pump to get that out. So you might want to replace your tensioner pulley if you're doing this. Be a good time to go ahead and do that. So I'll link one of those in the description too. But now I'm ready to install this new pump and it's still leaking oil and I don't want that dripping on my pulleys. But I'll go ahead and line up this top bolt in the back. I'll get that screw started. And then I can get this other screw in the bottom and get it started as well. Just lift up on the pulley until the screw lines up with the hole, and then I'll thread it in there by hand as much as I can. And then once I've got both of these in, I can tighten them down with the wrench in the socket. So I'll tighten them both by hand equally just to make sure that the pump is mounted straight. Get my 12mm socket on this back bolt, move my old hose out of the way real quick so that I can get my ratchet in here and tighten this bolt down. And then I'll use my ratcheting wrench on this front bolt and tighten it down as much as I can with this. And that should be good. All right, so I can go ahead and attach this hose to the front. It just slides right on. And then I can get this hose clamp back on. I always like to line it up the same as the impression that's on the hose. So that's gonna go right there. And then for the top hose, I noticed that it's got an O-ring on the end of it. And so I got out my O-ring kit and I found an O-ring that looks like it's gonna fit. And so I'm gonna attempt to replace this O-ring. This one looks pretty old, so I'm at least gonna try to put a new one on here. And this one looks the closest to the old one, so I'm gonna try this one. I'll just get a little bit of fluid on it to lube it up a little bit, and then I'll see if it fits in this groove. So that looks pretty good. It's not as wide as the old one, but I think that's gonna work. And with that one on there, it fits in pretty well. All right, and I got the belt back on. So now I'm ready to fill up the reservoir with fluid. I'm just gonna use this same funnel since I've got it right here. Got this valve so I can close it and I can pour a little bit of fluid in here. And then I can open the valve and watch the level on it. And I'll just slowly pour it in until I get to the max level. And everything looks good, so I switched to a smaller funnel. I'm gonna leave that there while I start the car. The old funnel was gonna touch this pulley. I'll just watch this level, and once it goes down, I can put more fluid in and keep it topped off. But I did double check and make sure that the belt is routed correctly before I start the car. No change yet, but I'm gonna go ahead and turn the wheel and see if some of that fluid goes down. And that pump finally did quiet down once I turned the wheel quite a few times. So it sounds like it's back to normal. I think we're good now. So I think everything's good. The level looks pretty good. It's a little bit too full, but I'm okay with that. I'm gonna drive it around for a while and see if I need to top it off again. In hindsight, I probably would have put some of that power steering fluid into this pump, into this port here before I installed it. That probably would have been a good idea, so I would do that. It sounded pretty rough at first, but once I turned the wheel back and forth a couple times, it eventually quieted down and then it finally sounded normal again. I turned the wheel all the way in both directions quite a few times and it finally evened out. So at this point, I think it's good. I'll just drive it around, make sure that level's still good, and then we're all set. So I've got a bit of a mess to clean up. The tools I used are not very many. I got these tiny adjustable pliers. I really like those. 12mm ratcheting wrench, a pick for the O-ring, 10, 12, and 19mm sockets, 1/2-inch ratchet, 1/2-inch breaker bar that I used with that 19mm socket to get that cap off the top, and a 14 and 15mm wrench for the belt. I'll link this funnel as well in case you want to use something like that. That was handy with that valve. And the turkey baster I get at the dollar store and then I just throw it away when I'm done using it. And my O-ring kit, so I will link all of this in the description as well as the pump that I got. So that's really it for this one. That really wasn't too bad since it's right here on top. That was my last project during this holiday break. I got quite a bit done on all 3 of our vehicles. Make sure you subscribe if you want to see some more work that I've done on the Honda, and I will catch you guys in the next video.